In 2092, climatic alterations have devastated the majority of vegetation on the planet, rendering Earth nearly uninhabitable. A corporation referred to as the UTS constructs a new orbital habitat for humanity that replicates the natural processes found on Earth. However, only a select few are permitted to reside there, with an even smaller number able to attain citizenship. Those who remain on Earth must confront the contaminated air, elevated taxes, and severe poverty. The founder of UTS, Sullivan, is endeavoring to establish Mars as a new Earth by cultivating genetically modified flora. He addresses a group of journalists regarding his ambitions, proclaiming that the grand inauguration of a Mars colony will occur soon. One of the journalists challenges him, because initiatives thus far have predominantly benefited the affluent and relegated countless individuals on Earth to obscurity, not to mention the multitude of debris hurtling through space at speeds exceeding those of projectiles. Labor is referred to as space sweepers are compelled to endanger their lives to remove this detritus, later selling it as their sole means of subsistence. Sullivan concedes that his proposals are not flawless and consents to speak with the journalist in confidentiality. On Earth, Tejo is frantic to locate his daughter and attempts to bribe the officials with the scantrice he possesses to gain access to the most recent body that has arrived at the morgue. They are accustomed to his frequent visits and escort him to the morgue, yet, once more, it proves to be a false alarm. The following day, a substantial fragment of debris collides with the satellite adjacent to the solar battery charging zone. A contingent of space sweepers hastens to retrieve it with their vessels, but they are abruptly interrupted by the emergence of a ship designated as Victory. Android Bubs stands atop the vessel and launches a harpoon equipped with a rope that attaches to the fragment of debris. Then, Victory departs, prompting the other sweepers to pursue them. Bubs begins coiling the rope to collect their refuse while Tiger operates the ship's machinery to ensure it functions rapidly and efficiently. As the other vessels approach and attempt to seize the cargo, Captain Zhang employs Victory's arm to repel them with ease. Subsequently, pilot Tejo executes a perilous maneuver, navigating Victory around the solar panels and slipping through narrow openings to evade pursuit. This nearly results in a collision with the residential zone, but Tejo maneuvers the ship just in time, resulting in the mere destruction of an antenna. Afterwards, they arrive at the factory, a waste management satellite. Tejo disposes of all the materials they have collected, but the compensation is inadequate, compounded by the necessity to cover the antenna repair and associated taxes. Ultimately, the team finds themselves in debt. Tejo reacts poorly, prompting the clerk to threaten him with a knife to appease him. On television, the news broadcasts a missing persons report for an android named Dorothy, who was abducted from UTS 2 days prior by a faction known as Black Foxes. The girl appears innocent but is, in fact, a weapon, so civilians encountering her are advised to contact security rather than approach. Nonetheless, Tejo pays little heed and departs. That evening, tension mounts among the Victory crew due to their financial predicament. A dispute arises, escalating into a physical altercation that leaves the humans incapacitated. Bubs secures her savings in a box, revealing herself to be the only individual maintaining adequate financial reserves. Her aspiration is to acquire a superior body with synthetic skin. Later, the crew ventures out to work on the debris they collected, which turns out to be a damaged ship in relatively good condition considering its origins. From a location filled with nanobots that consume metal. Abruptly, several lights illuminate within the vessel, prompting them to open the cargo compartment and observe a number of airbags drifting out. Concealed among them, they are taken aback to discover Dorothy. They escort her into Victory, and Tejo cannot refrain from reflecting on his own daughter as he gazes at her. In that instant, the news broadcasts the missing advertisement once more, and the crew becomes alarmed upon hearing she is a weapon, hastily seeking shelter when she opens her mouth. However, she merely sneezes. Subsequently, the crew dashes to conceal themselves in their quarters and strategize on how to proceed. Tejo reemerges attempting to restrain her, but as soon as she moves, he becomes frightened and hides behind some metal. At that moment, he observes she possesses a bag, which he seizes and carries back to his room to inspect its contents. Inside, There is a phone with numerous missed calls for an individual named Dr. Kang and some documentation from UTS featuring the same name. The crew resolves to navigate toward one of the residential areas designated for non-citizens. They depart the ship, but Dorothy remains behind, and when she is alone, she unveils a power that prompts a lifeless plant to blossom. Meanwhile, the crew visits a bar to deliberate on their next steps. Tiger attempted to contact the authorities but was placed on hold, while Taeho considers that they could generate significant profit by selling Dorothy to the Black Foxes. A dispute arises, and once they all come to a consensus, Taeho retrieves a device that distorts his voice and renders it untraceable. He contacts Dr. Kang and presents a video of Dorothy, demanding $2 million in exchange for the girl. Kang promptly concedes to pay and they agree upon a meeting location. As the crew prepares for the transaction, an alert sounds on the computer, indicating the police are approaching. They swiftly discard their disguises and conceal the girl, attempting to act normally just before an officer boards the ship. The policeman explains that his precinct received a call from this vessel and notices Tiger signaling at someone behind the door. With the taser at the ready, he enters the room to search for any irregularities, but Dorothy evades detection, remaining concealed. Taeho takes some of Bub's savings and slips them into the officer's hand before the man shoves him away. However, the cash lingers in his grasp, and Bubs recorded the entire incident, prompting Jang to threaten to report him until he departs. Afterwards, Taeho and Tiger don their costumes again and proceed to a club in the commercial district for the exchange. While Tiger safeguards Dorothy within a bag, Taeho approaches Kang, who surprises him from behind and inspects him for weapons before instructing him to proceed. Nearby on a balcony, some guards prepare to open fire. The duo meets with Tiger and Kang hands him a briefcase containing the funds, but upon opening the suitcase, they realize Dorothy is absent. The girl is traversing through the dancing throng, which suddenly comes to a halt upon spotting a child. In that instant, everyone's devices begin displaying Dorothy's missing advertisement, causing them to recoil in alarm. The guards commence firing, and Taeho pulls her out of harm's way just in time, yet the shots obliterate the DJ booth, resulting in turmoil as the crowd disperses in terror. Kang continues to attempt to reach Dorothy, but the fleeing crowd propels him forward. While Taeho and Tiger persist in searching for Kang, a guard spots them and fires directly at them. However, Dorothy's ability generates a barrier that neutralizes all the bullets. The guards continue to shoot until no presence remains in the vicinity, believing they have eliminated their targets. Nevertheless, the men successfully manage to escape with Dorothy and are now departing in triumph. Due to the vessel sustaining damage, they are required to remain in the factory. After reprimanding them for their shortcomings, Jang destroys Dorothy's mobile device, believing the guards utilized it to trace them. She saved Kang's contact information so they can reach him using their own communication device. Meanwhile, Sullivan engages in conversation with his research team regarding the nanobots on Mars that are attempting to cultivate vegetation and even an ocean. Someone retrieves Dorothy's goggles from the club, and he keeps fixating on them while admonishing his team, asserting the necessity of finding proof that Earth holds no hope. His veins darken as he writhes in discomfort. Sometime later, Dorothy requests scissors from Taeho and utilizes them to remove the tomatoes that have developed on the plant. Impressed, Taeho takes Dorothy with him to sell them to other sweepers, generating some income while also forming a connection. Subsequently, it is Bub's turn to supervise Dorothy, and they engage in makeup application. During their conversation, Bub's scan uncovers a secret about Dorothy, but she diverts the topic to inquire about Taeho. Bubs shares that Taeho was a child soldier, whose life was predominantly characterized by violence. One day, amidst a mission, his team killed a mother, and he discovered an infant in the arms of the deceased. Rather than sending her to Earth as protocol dictated, he chose to adopt her as his daughter. Soon, he realized that the explosion from the mission had rendered her deaf, and he held himself accountable thereafter. He found himself incapable of inflicting harm on others. This led to his termination from UTS, resulting in their relocation to an impoverished area. One evening, while trying to earn some money, his daughter wandered off. Suddenly, some space debris crashed into the neighborhood, claiming thousands of lives and causing widespread panic. In the turmoil, Tae-ho was unable to locate his daughter and watched in horror as part of the town was propelled into space. Later, the authorities informed him they had approximately 3 years to recover her body. Beyond that, there would be no chance of retrieval due to the debris drifting too far. A search company could be contracted for a swift recovery, but he lacked the financial means. To this day, Tae-ho continues his search. This motive is what led him to join a sweeper crew. Bob's recounting is interrupted when some court agents discover her with Dorothy. At that moment, the ship's phone begins to ring, and Tae-ho attempts to rush to answer it, but the agents restrain him. A frantic Tae-ho forcefully pushes them aside and manages to take the call, during which he agrees to a new meeting with Kang. Unfortunately, the court agents seize victory, declaring it is now the property of the bank due to the crew's debt. In private, Tiger confesses he no longer wishes to sell Dorothy, fearing the consequences of such an action. They may act against her, but Tae-ho requires the funds to search for his daughter, and the crew must retrieve the vessel. When Dorothy enters the restroom, a man trails her inside. Abruptly, the crew hears her scream and comprehends that she has been abducted. The crew promptly begins to search for her, and Tiger recalls the tunnels, prompting him to leap in there to locate the man escorting Dorothy away. A pursuit follows, and Tiger loses track of them, yet Tae-ho arrives precisely at the moment to take Dorothy from the captor by surprise. The individual then brandishes a knife, only for Tae-ho to swiftly subdue him utilizing his military training. Regrettably, the man is not solitary, and additional masked defenders emerge simultaneously as Tiger returns, furiously incapacitating them all within mere minutes. Jang also arrives and removes the leader's mask, revealing the clerk who typically purchases their debris. Meanwhile, Sullivan is engaged in a discussion with the journalist who confronted him. Sullivan articulates that he does not select citizens based on their financial standing. His system conducts DNA assessments to choose individuals with the most superior genes. The journalist acknowledges that UTS is depleting Earth's economy and generating excessive space debris, thereby hastening Earth's demise. Becoming unsettling, Sullivan recounts witnessing the deaths of everyone in his village during his youth and his loss of family, vowing since that time to enhance humanity. Concurrently, his guards bring an unconscious black fox and drop him onto the ground. Sullivan informs the journalist that he will grant him citizenship if he shoots the fox, and the journalist complies after a moment of reluctance. However, Sullivan perceives this as evidence that the individual is worthless and kills him while his skin alters in hue. Returning to the group, they confront the abductors while Dorothy hurries to the restroom. Jank notes that robots do not excrete waste and deduces that Dorothy is human, a conclusion confirmed by Bobs. Subsequently, she employs a specialized light to uncover the tattoos of the abductors, establishing them as black foxes. The group elucidates that the foxes are not terrorists. They are, in fact, an environmental organization. Dorothy was born with an ailment that deteriorates her nerves, prompting her father, Kang, to inject nanobots into her body. These nanobots not only repaired her nerves but also endowed her with unique abilities to stimulate plant growth. Thus, she could rejuvenate Earth, making Sullivan's Mars initiative unnecessary. Upon learning of Dorothy, Sullivan dispatched his guards to eliminate her. The laboratories and scientists collaborating with her were obliterated, yet Dorothy could not be terminated because the only method to eradicate a nanobot is through a hydrogen bomb. Such a bomb resides within the factory's anti-gravity system, leading the soldiers to plan to place her there and detonate it, resulting in the factory crashing onto Earth and generating sufficient natural and nuclear calamities to ultimately bring it to an end. In summary, Sullivan aims to purify humanity. Abruptly, they hear gunfire and realize the soldiers have arrived at the factory, searching for them by assaulting anyone in their path. The foxes escape through the rear exit while Jang and Tiger stroll casually through the corridors, feigning being ordinary workers. Tae-ho takes Dorothy, and they flee through the vents, but Dorothy sneezes, and a soldier observes them. They begin to accelerate as the soldier discharges his weapon, while Jang generates a diversion by activating Victory. Tae-ho and Dorothy succeed in reaching a bridge and sprint as they evade the gunfire from the guards. leaping at the final moment to grasp the vessel before it departs. When a soldier leaps and lands on top of Taeho, it exerts pressure on Dorothy, causing them both to plummet. The soldier executes a flawless landing and prepares to seize the girl, only for Tiger to swing in and secure her first. Once everyone is on board, Taeho accelerates as quickly as possible. Missiles pursue them, and one detonates perilously close to the ship, propelling it into the debris field. Soon, Victory begins to fail, and the crew is unable to keep pace with all the essential repairs, permitting a nanobot infestation to infiltrate the vessel. As the nanobots envelop the entire Victory, Dorothy activates her abilities and expels them all within seconds. She then loses consciousness, and Tiger realizes her heart has ceased, prompting him to act immediately. Initiates CPR. To his astonishment, Dorothy emits a gas and awakens as though nothing occurred. Shortly thereafter, the Victory departs from the wreckage zone and encounters